in the late game, getting to the late game against ROX Tigers. Now that is an uphill battle.
Yeah. We haven't seen Jin Air in a little bit here, so we'll see how things shake up. As pick and ban has been changed quite a lot recently. Rise coming back into priority, but we can see the bans coming out the gate already. It's going to be the Azir and Callista banned away by the Tigers, and no surprise, Nidalee taken off the table. Already a strong pick, but in the hands of Peanut, nearly unstoppable.
As mentioned, we are still on patch 6.6. Aurelion Sol, the only champion who is disabled. There will be no Aurelion Sol played through playoffs at the end of the season.
Nope. Not going to happen. Sivir and Graves to be the final bans, and a first pick Rise coming in for the ROX Tigers. Very confident pickup. We'll have to see who that's going to go for, because it could be Smeb or Kura.
Interesting that the Echo has not been locked in just yet. Smeb was majestic last time on Echo, Someday yesterday, pulling out a quadra kill and a very impressive performance as well. Rise makes sense as a region. We haven't seen him be picked up in other regions just yet, but his flex nature and just the damage potential. It's not about the perma-snare anymore. It's about the Q max, the overload, 3 rotations in every one of those 5 spell casts. And again, damage Rise is back.
All right, well, I like this draft so far from the Tigers. Going really aggressive here, locking in the Lee Sin already, knowing that Elise is going to be facing him on the other side. Winged, somebody that plays a good amount of Lee Sin, I believe is 5-1, the stat currently for him. So just tipping over Flawless, who's the permaban person for Lee Sin. But Alistar Elise grabbed up so far for Jin Air. Trundle in the hands of ROX Tigers to try to dissuade Jin Air from going for something like a Poppy in that top lane. It's going to be Corki and Gangplank, however. So we don't know where these are going quite just yet. This could be an 80 Corki, which could put GP in either the mid or the top side. So good draft from Jin Air, keeping it a little bit loose and not letting us know what's going on. So ROX going to have to blind pick a couple of roles here.
It's just interesting that ROX has been forced off comfort, specifically Peanut, not on one of these carry junglers. Of course, Flawless and other junglers have shown you can have carry performances with Lee Sin, but both Nidalee and Kindred and Graves all banned out, meant that the champion pool was a bit more narrow for the jungle.
Yep. So for that, we can see the lock-in here for Prey with this Ashe. The big Ashe pioneer from Korea. Last time he played this, didn't go so hot.
That's true, but
it wasn't
all these
that
Season
great,
1 OG 80 carries have the legit Ashes.
Yeah.
That's the story, is the people that have been around remember all the times Ashe was in the meta, specifically back Season 1, Season 2. They have that different accuracy on arrows in particular. And Prey's Ashe arrows, as you mentioned, a little bit wayward last time we saw it. Definitely the strongest Ashe player we have in Champions.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're waiting on this last lock-in. Will we see the Vogue new utility mid laner? With Lulu out of the meta to some degree, Karma seems to have picked up her spot, but Faker definitely yesterday, he was the one who brought her back, looked a bit shaky. Looks like we're still going to be seeing Karma mid from Kuro.
Alasa comes into the mid lane here with Karma pickups. Of course, Trundle going to be on support, so Smeb going to be trying his hand at that Rise up in the top side, and a very quick lock-in. It's going to be Jinx for Pilot on the other side. This is not a pick that we've seen since I believe it was Kramer played it, and they lost that game. It was a very bad game 3.
CJ really reached for a Protect the Jinx comp, and it kind of reminded us why Jinx doesn't work. Jinx is one of those champions, like Jhin, that needs to find safe lane farm, and in the lane swap meta, that can only really be found in mid. Now they are running, it looks like a double TP comp, but TP Corki, is that going to be the result? That doesn't look ideal.
I think they have to switch some summoners around still, it looks like. They haven't traded yet. So, oh, looks like we have, okay.
Couple of issues.
Okay, so we did have, looks like a trading issue as far as the champ select goes. So we'll get right back in, lock these champions. I'm not being told that the Jinx was a wrong pick by any means, so it looks like that will be our 80 carry for the time being, but they just couldn't get the champion swapped around. So gonna fix those client issues, get straight back into the game. So again, going back to the Jinx as we were talking about, not good right now, it would seem. What do you think it would take for Jinx to be able to come back into this meta in a strong way? Because we saw her a hell of a lot in Season 5.
Again, the big issue with Jinx right now is that we're in a double teleport meta. We're in a double lane swap era. You know, we see the outer turrets go down very early, sometimes even 2 turrets in both top and bottom lane go down. And then the only safe place for Jinx to farm with the threat of double TP, with her just lack of an escape, is in the mid lane. So now you have a Corki in the lineup who doesn't usually run teleport, usually runs some sort of defensive or combat summoner. How are you going to find safe places for both Jinx and Corki to find farm? If the lane swap goes through, I mean, that's going to actually be pretty tricky for Jin Air to pull off. Now, we'll wait and see if we do get a confirmation on the Jinx pick. It was an insta-lock, so we're expecting it, but yeah, not 100% sure.
Yeah, not playing in one of those ragtag challenger tournaments where somebody like, oh, I didn't have that champion, so he had to place hold.
That's what tournament realms gave us. Achilles is no more issues with champion pool, and that way, we just get players that can't play certain champions. That's the only champion pool issues we get.
You know, I wish the tournament realm would be provided for online tournaments. It'd be a hell of a lot more of them.
Is this a Riot Please PSA over here, Achilles?
It is a Riot Please PSA. The challenger scene could need some bolstering. Need those teams to up and come. Maybe get that confidence to go to Korea and boot camp. Get ready for the next split.
Korean boot camp. Sometimes a meme, sometimes legit.
I mean, sometimes the meme sometimes leads to the dream, man. You gotta make it into the promotion tournament. Speaking of the promotion tournament, we saw today the end of an era. Dignitas out of the NALCS. A team that's been in from the get-go.
Looks like the Jinx pick may have just been a misdraft.
So it looks like we do have a misdraft. So maybe a further issue, it seems. So not going to be Jinx for the AD carry. So it will be Corki and it will be Lissandra. This makes much more sense. We were kind of taken aback and caught off guard by that Jinx lock-in. So here we go. Will be Lissandra mid for Kuzan. Much more standard.
And look, so we'll just throw out what we were saying about Jinx. Only Kramer is a Jinx player, apparently.
But not a very good one.
Well, that's true. This is a really interesting draft just because you've got safe wave clear mids. Looking like Karma isn't going to be running teleport. Basically, this is about buying time for scaling top laners. Both Ryze and Gangplank need to get their core items. Both of them have expensive builds. And there's strong wave clear in other lanes to some degree to buy time for these two. Question is, what can they make done in other lanes? Ryze can show up with an instant snare. Gangplank does have his global ultimate, but this game is largely going to be played around scaling top laners, and I think the team that gets that advantage early, even with scaling, you have to say Ryze and Gangplank pretty similar in scaling the late game, so very interesting to see how they play around basically identical in terms of scaling timing top laners.
Yeah. Definitely going to be interesting. And of course, one of the most interesting people to watch is going to be Peanut in the jungle, this time using Lee Sin, not playing his Kindred or his Nidalee, both banned away. Those being his biggest champions that he does play. So trying his hand to Lee Sin, going up against Wings, who is a very well-known Lee Sin player here in Champions. So he's going to know that matchup. Wings is going to know when Peanut can out-pressure him, when he can win those trades. So we'll see if Peanut can come out on top and out-pressure the Elise. We're going to get into game one here, ROX Tigers versus Jin Air.
Everybody wants to rule the world. There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands.
All right, everyone in the audience chiming in as we get this nice, gorgeous sweeping view of the landscape of Summoner's Rift. Here we are, hot into game one. Again, if you're just joining us, a lot on the line here for Jin Air Green Wings. Looking for a 2-0 to try to net themselves a third place spot, just inching over SK Telecom. But it's a very uphill battle to be had.
Just a lot of fascinating things to discuss about in this draft. Yesterday, Monte Cristo found some time to talk about the meta, and I think the meta's on full display in this game. One of the issues I see, we were talking about Jinx. Obviously, Jinx didn't end up being selected. We have Ashe in this game, and Ashe, much like Jin, much like Jinx, is one of those carries that finds it hard to find safe farm in a double TP meta.
Yep.
This is a game where Kuro has decided to take Cleanse to deal with the Lissandra lockup in the mid lane. ROX Tigers finding spaces for both Gangplank and, for both Ryze and Ashe to find safe farm against double teleport, potentially in long lanes. ROX Tigers really do not want to see a lane swap, because if outer turrets go down in both top and bot, it will be difficult to find both Ashe and Karma safe places to farm.
Yeah. Hard indeed. Looks like we are just going to have a very brief jungle leash here from the top laners as both of these jungles start around the bottom side of the map. So they will crash up to that top side. So we might see some 3v3 action, maybe something happening around level 3 in that mid lane as well.
Very important, as I mentioned, for ROX Tigers to get the 2v2. They do call the lane swap, so that definitely does extend the laning phase, which is what they want. Things get riskier when these turrets start going down, for Ashe specifically.
Even 2v2, have to respect the damage that Corki's going to be able to output after a couple backs. Gets those first few items in, especially once the Sheen is in hand. Ashe still a very squishy AD carry despite being so immobile.
We're looking for action from both junglers, and usually it's just Peanut, of course. Famously has the highest first blood participation score in the league at 67%.
Yeah.
Ironically, Winged is actually number 2 at 45%, so both these junglers have been basically ever present at being involved in first bloods.
That's still a pretty big disadvantage, though, about 20% there.
It is, but 1 and 2 is the storyline, and the human battle ward and Peanut probably going to put down more wards, but mostly for mobility, mostly for picks necessarily than for vision, because this is definitely a different jungle pickup than what we expect. We've seen Peanut almost exclusively on ranged junglers all season.
Yeah.
Elise, Kindred, and Graves have been his big picks, so it's definitely something different for him in this game.
There were a few others available to him if he wanted to go for something a little less aggressive. Could have went for the Gragas, something that's been picked up quite a bit. Nice triple barrel there by Trace, getting some damage in onto Smeb.
Trace's most impressive carry champion by far has been the Gangplank, actually over 21 KDA on the season despite a loss, so it's been impressive on it.
Here comes Wing down to the bottom side. Smeb, though, has that ward in the river. Gonna keep himself alive, just back off a little bit so far. We've seen Kuzan did go back, use the teleport. Doesn't have to worry about out-pressuring Koro with TPs, as Koro has decided to go for that cleanse, of course, against the Lissandra.
Karma's definitely one of these new champions that's in play. It's been Ryze, it's been Karma, and it's been Echo. Those have been the 3 new picks that have kind of come to the forefront on patch 6.6.
Yeah, Echo has gotten a lot of popularity recently.
It's crazy to see him fall through picks and bans in this game as far as I saw.
Yeah, we saw Smeb play a beautiful Echo just last week where he got a double kill. 1v2. Peanut coming in though. Lands a Sonic Wave. Don't think he wants to go in underneath the tower. Winged waiting in the wings as well. Could throw out that cocoon and make that gank pretty disastrous. You can see though, waiting in the brush. Peanut has an idea that he's here. Throws out the Q. Doesn't land though. Looks like he's just going to play it safe. Not wrap around that side toward the Krugs and just go back to the Raptors. Meanwhile though, Smeb, no ward in this tri-brush. Trace advancing up, flashes away from the cocoon. Beautiful reaction period there from him.
I mean, if you consider that the cocoon only just came through terrain and he was able to get the flash in, so was just aware because Gangplank was moving up the lane, so it's ready for it.
Well, minions as well, kind of giving him a little bit of
true.
vision, but still, great reaction there by Smeb, but going to make him that much more susceptible to being ganked.
We should talk about Karma. What does Karma provide? Why is Karma being played? It's difficult to
Provides a lot.
talk about Karma without talking about Lulu. These are both support mages that can be played support on mid. Of course, famously, seasons ago, were both played support. Now we're seeing them extensively mid, with Lulu seeing those utility nerfs, specifically around her speed up on her W. Karma in the same patch basically getting buffs to her utility, specifically doubling ability power ratios. It's just, you see, strong
Oh wow,
lane phase
Kuzan going back in onto Koro. No Ignite, of
No
course.
mana,
and no mana from either side. So no first blood going to come out quite just yet, but both being taken really low. Still holding onto those flashes. Wings into the mid lane to match Peanut's pressure here.
Ironically, the last time we saw Karma in the meta was during a Sivir meta, because Mantra E is basically the same as Sivir's ultimate when it comes to the big movement speed increase.
Yeah.
Even provides a shield, so arguably it's just legitimately better in that way, but Karma provides a lot of utility, doubling AP ratios of utility when the other strong laning utility champion was nerfed. Makes a lot of sense that we're seeing just that much more Karma this week.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't last as long as Sivir's ultimate, but for a short range, quick burst move speed increase with a shield, that's huge. Trey though, the poorer half of a trade here in this top side as Pilot lays down a bit of damage.
I mean, the big difference between the two is that when it comes to laning phases, as we're seeing Winged making a return to bot lane.
Yeah. Smeb's level 6 though. You do have to be careful. Even a no item rise level 6 can be pretty scary, but the barrels don't connect for the slow. Smeb going to be able to finish the other one off for a little bit of gold, and that's going to send Winged packing back to the base, and he's falling further and further behind Peanut on farm, already up 10 CS on this Lee Sin.
Has been power farming despite being...
Wow, this is interesting. He goes for the Swifties instead of the jungle item, so Wing going to delay his jungle item. We can see the Skirmisher Saber and the Sightstone already coming in for Peanut, so looking for that high mobility Lee Sin, able to make those big insect plays, jumping in behind the enemies.
Wing's item builds have actually been pretty much first in class when it comes to these more control junglers rather than carry junglers. Winged was basically pioneering just jungle item, like not even finishing your Skirmisher Saber and going straight into the Sightstone, then finishing a Skirmisher Saber Runic Echo to have more damage, but also the warding potential. He was the first person to really skip over Tracker's Knife as a choice.
Oh, Toro. Frozen Tomb comes
Cleanse.
down, but Cleanse immediately comes out, so Winged not going to be able to follow up.
Winged has
with
definitely been perhaps the most creative jungler when it comes to itemization, and this is another adaptation.
Oh, here we go, though. You're not waiting in the wings. Oh, Sonic Wave goes wide to the right. Not going to connect, not going to be able to find a pick. So, he could still apply some pressure in the side of Jin Air's jungle. We'll see what Peanut decides to do. Looks like he's just going to play some wards around the blue buff so he can spot that out and get the timer for it.
Probably the big fundamental difference between Karma and, again, the support mage in class Lulu is line damage. And both in terms of clearing a minion wave as it approaches, but in team fights, the big thing for Karma, the big knock against her, is that the frontline tank can absorb the damage from, say, a Mantra Q, and then the backline takes no damage, whereas Lulu, much more reliable in getting damage onto the backline. Not a lot of damage, but with a Lich Bane, with some AP, decent damage on the Glitterlands. So, again, going to be more utility-focused in the late game is the Karma, but potential certainly there. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, Gage coming in the mid side. They popped the Rise ultimate, and that is enough for Fuzon to say, okay, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with this one. Flashes away. We'll stay alive for the time being. Good roam by Smeb, getting that Summoner's Spell down, but losing some pressure down this bot side as Prey is going to run his way down to this lane and try to get these minions as quickly as he can, but I think he's still going to miss that cannon, or it's going to be really close.
On to see. Jin Air keeps swapping up. Want to try and force that lane swap, get those outer turrets down, force Ashe to overextend her farm. So we could see plenty of turret trading, or in this case, lane swapping just to keep the 2v2 alive. It was a win for ROX Tigers to find it, and again, they want to extend the laning phase as long as possible.
Yep. This is good for Smeb, though. Alone in this top side at the moment. We can see the swap coming back as Pilot and Shay are rejoining the top side of the map, this time with a package in tow. Smeb going to pick up some CS and just about equalize against Trace, who's losing that wave at the turret, not going to throw out the cannon barrage. Wants that for global pressure, so just going to let some of that CS go to waste. But we can see Catalyst and tier has been completed for this Rise, so now it's just a ticking time bomb of a champion. We saw what happened when Saucen played it in the mid lane. This is Smeb. I think that this could be really devastating for Jin Air if they can't do something about this Rise and make some objective plays really soon.
I mean, Xpecial also was pulling off great plays for Longzhu in their 2-0 win over Samsung on the Rise. If you can get those wards down, you can make great plays. That was in a lane swap, though. That was with turrets down. I just love the fact that ROX Tigers basically pioneered the top Jin Air is running. Double TP, if you ever opt into a no-escape AD carry, TP gank with strong CC like a Lissandra, speed up like a Sivir. This time the speed up's coming from the mid. But the big thing for ROX is they were the ones that innovated the double TP gank AD carry meta. So of course, when they're faced against it, they're smart in knowing keep swapping around to force the 2v2 to ensure the turrets never go down, the deep walls never go down, and Ashe is never hamstrung finding farm.
Yep. See though, spotting out that Elise in the bottom side with Che. This gives ROX the information and confidence that they need to go over and take out this first Rift Herald of the game. So Prey and Gorilla going to be whittling that one down. This will give us our first very slight gold lead as that 250 comes in for these guys.
What will they do with it? Are they going to try and get down? Looks like they're going to be too late to stop this turret down.
I think Prey got the buff, but yeah, the tower is going to fall as Wing is here to help them out. Of course, Triforce on the core team will make pretty quick work of this one. So they will burn this out, and ROX not in a position to counteract a tower in the top side of the map, so that will give a 700 gold lead over to Jin Air for the time being. Dragon not yet coming into contention, but this is a good objective move that Jin Air needs to be taking, and they need to continue this trend if they're going to beat out ROX in the scaling that is Smeb's Rise.
Scaling is strong on both sides. You can never count Gangplank out of a fight.
Oh no, I mean, we've seen Someday completely 1v9 games with his Gangplank before.
It's fun when you see a rotational game like this where Ashe has already rushed Swiftness Boots before finishing her first big AD item completion.
Yep.
Gangplank also picking up Swiftness Boots because rotating around lanes, finding safe farm has been the name of the game for the first 12 minutes.
Yep. So Swifties, a longsword, and a call coming in for Prey. So just looking for the long haul of farming.
As Corki rushing down the Trinity Force lets you know that Jin Air wants to opt into those earlier fights.
We'd expect nothing less from a Corki. very rare that you see a call come out on Corki.
Well, there's just no way for ROX to answer what is going to be a 15-minute Trinity Force and Abyssal Scepter between the Lissandra and Ashe.
Yeah.
So rotation is the name of the game for ROX. Gets a nice poke onto Kuzan.
Just a bit and some good damage on the turret as well. So if they get a couple picks, they might be able to pressure out that tower, find their first of the game. You can see that Skullcrab has been taken for some extended vision of this dragon. Ward in the pit getting ready to expire. So ROX just trying to keep tabs on that as much as they possibly can and make sure that Jin Air are not in a position to sneak out that first dragon from underneath their noses.
It's a control game for ROX. It's don't leave any time for Jin Air to put deep wards into their red side jungle. Now the turret is down. Just look for farm. Deny any teleport plays, specifically from Kuzan, who of course has the instant cast, hard CC. And just rotate around. So if they can match CS with their opponent when it's Ashe and Rise against Corki and Gangplank, slight scaling advantage to ROX. So incentivize us to keep this going. Hopped into the late game, which is pretty scary against a Jin Air team who've looked strongest in the late game.
Yeah. You see though, Abyssal Scepter and Merc Dreads coming in here for Smeb. So just one step closer to getting that Rod of Ages and start the stacking. Should have it in a couple more minutes, but we're going to be bordering on 30 minutes before we see a fully stacked Roa.
So you know again that ROX are in no rush to fight, but you need to pick up objectives like Dragon, get control over Baron to force fights, and so far Jin Air have been denied picking up a first Dragon for 13 minutes. We've seen late first Dragons, but again, a late first Dragon is a win from ROX because it just gives them more time. The less forced fights ROX are in, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a good amount of crowd control from the side of Jin Air. If they get into those 5v5s, as long as they don't clump up underneath of Smeb, they're in a pretty good position. Frozen Tomb to slow everybody out. Pilot just firing out those Foss bombs and rockets left and right. You can set up for a really good pulverize with Shay as well. So Jin Air not pressuring out as much as they really need to be.
Explain to the fans joining late. We're not in the new studio. We're in a new studio, but of course not the famous new Seoul studio that OGN will be moving to, I believe, late April, early May.
Yep. We gravitated down last night. Now, just a while to hold that thought. A Smeb gets engaged on here, takes a lot of damage. Just have that ultimate up. We'll be able to sustain and regain a little bit of that HP, but Peanut not arriving just a little bit too late to try to turn that engage around.
His weakest point of the game is early, where he's famously, if he goes top lane, a very turret diveable champion. All the swaps has meant that he's got safe farms. That's another small win for the Ryan.
Can't chain review like he used to be able to. Wait, no, getting found out here by Gorilla, and Koro takes a bit of damage. 1.5 HP, but Kuzan's there to back him up. Flash is still down there for the Elise, so no Flash Cocoon coming in anytime soon.
Again, we'll complete the PSA. We are in Jeonju, which I believe you saw with your research is 194 kilometers, just under 200 kilometers away from Seoul.
Yeah, came down on a bullet train last night, KTX. About an hour and 20 minutes, not too bad.
Too bad at all. It's known as the food capital of Seoul. Very famous for having great traditional Korean food. We tried some earlier. Fantastic bibimbap.
Yeah. It's a good place for soul food, but not for soul food.
That's fair. Well, this is the sort of soulful play I'm looking for. What is going to be... Again, it is a big match. It doesn't feel like one because we're at the end of the season. Both these teams guaranteed playoff spots, but it's all about that ordering. It's all about Jin Air forcing SKT into what would be a nail-biting playoff match.
Yeah, that'd be really tough. I'd love to see that best of one. SKT Jin Air.
After a long
all
night
of the marbles.
We have to assume that it's going to be on Saturday after the matches. Makes the most sense for scheduling-wise, which would be a very long day. But
yeah, which means that Jin Air, you know, if they win this 2-0, they get that much more time to prepare.
The crazy thing is they play Longju in that last series of the weekend, and then potentially set up that best of one against SKT. We'll talk more about that if it does eventuate.
I don't know if Jin Air needs to do too much prep for that one.
Jin Air versus SKT. Well, I mean,
not that one.
The other one. The Longju one. Well, you never know which Longju will show up.
That's very true. Shado taking a lot of damage, has to pop that Alistar ultimate to get out of the room from the Karma. So cooldown has been burned. ROX maybe looking to apply a little bit more pressure in this top side. Peanut on the road down. Wing is still here. This could be the opportunity for Jin Air to make a play, but Prey and Gorilla just going to go ahead and back off.
No incentive for Prey to start face-checking Brush, so just push up that far in the lane. No sight on Wing. They don't have any vision in the enemy jungle. Honestly, the economy of vision for both teams is something to talk about. Very little wards on the map from either team.
Yeah. 2 picks, though, are sitting in that top side of the river from ROX, so they at least have that going for them. Only the 1 ping placed by the Krugs for Jin Air. So not as much stagnant vision as ROX has, but see what the recall's coming through. Turret already down to half HP. They're going to try to pressure in for this turret. Should be able to get a good amount of damage in. Not going to be able to finish it off quite just yet, though, as a Gorilla and Prey do arrive just in time to prevent the take. But still, Jin Air doing well to pressure out these objectives and whittle down these turrets slowly but surely.
Rise has his Rod of Ages, so we're looking at about a 28-minute stacking time for the 10 stacks to come in. Just notice, it's a different Peanut. Both the champion and the texture of this game means not about forcing ganks, not about trading turrets, so ROX just trying to extend laning phases where possible. And Peanut just there to relieve pressure from the attack.
You know the arrow comes out, his chain gets caught, does not have the Alistar ultimate quite just yet, but Flash is available. See if he can get canceled. Here comes Kuzan, locks down Gorilla, he's going to be the first one to fall. The Cannon Barrage finishes him off, first blood over to Trace, and ROX getting their engage turns right on its head.
Both teleports cancelled, but of course Gangplank can influence that outer lane without committing to using the teleport. So Smeb gets some lane control on bot, but at the price of first blood going over to Gangplank.
Yeah, Gorilla at the front not going to be tanky quite just yet as it's playing out of the support lane. Sure, you have that relic shield. Sure, you have a little bit of HP regeneration. You see he's trading some things around now in his inventory, but not enough to stand underneath that tower, and certainly not enough to get locked down by a Frozen Tomb.
Honestly, the big surprise is that ROX were the ones that finally pulled the trigger on an aggressive engage. I talked about how all they wanted to do was to buy time.
Speaking of aggressive engages here, Smeb going in underneath the tower. Doesn't take much damage though, has that shield of course. Throws out some more on Trace. We'll whittle him down to about half HP, but I don't think he's going to send this Gangplank packing quite just yet. Still has some charges of that Corrupting Potion to chug up on. Peanut and Gorilla coming around the back side of this rush. There is a ward in it. Trace will be able to spot them. Of course, the Wolf Spirit there as well. So he will be able to retreat to safety. But that opens up the tower for a taking in the bot side of the map as Kuro pressures out this mid lane one, and he will be able to take it.
But just come back to that teleport. Like, remember, ROX initiated with an Ash Arrow against double teleport when they didn't even have teleport on their mid lane. And when they were getting what they wanted in safe farm, it was just over-aggression from ROX Tigers. The end result, they're still managing to get a lot of control because they picked up a lot of turret damage while Lissandra was in top lane. But just a bit curious to see ROX go for an aggressive play that went against all their other lines of play in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, diving against this comp from Jin Air is it's very tricky business, and you can see it just did not pay off for them.
I mean, diving with a teleport disadvantage is almost always a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, for sure. We see though, Dragon getting started up here by Jin Air. Gorilla and Winged are in the area.
Ash Arrow hasn't been sent yet.
Kuro, yeah. Arrow's still available. Dragon still being whittled down just about 80% at the moment. Spence here could have a full-on 5v5. Going up the Monster trying to get some damage in, but he finds Spiderlings. Dragon going to start resetting. The Jin Air keep going for it. It comes back out down to 50% HP. Taking a lot of damage. Peanut here to try to go for the steal. Could just be a smite off between these junglers. Visual damage comes through. They stun up Wing with the arrow. Beautiful play. Peanut gonna find the steal, but he gets engaged on here. Doesn't have the dash available. Runs to the back of the pit. Might be able to make it out of this one alive. Smeb going in. Jumps forward with the flash. Finds Kuzan. Frozen Tomb comes down just in time, but can he get out of this one alive? The flash is not available. He's gonna fall. Smeb finding the kill. Wonderful play by ROX Tigers, picking up a kill for themselves and the Dragon, and Smeb not done quite just yet. Pops the ultimate, goes in on Trace, getting into room. Not going to happen, but Kuro is pinning from the top side. Wait, gets locked down, has to go for the repel, comes down on the other side of Kuro. Looks like he will be able to get out alive. Jay getting locked up by that Karma, but pops the Alistar ultimate, keeps him alive. Cannon Barrage coming down should keep these two teams separated. Looks like that's going to be the disengage here, but nice play by the ROX Tigers.
And while it's not true Turbo Rise Achilleos, with the Karma speed up, and specifically with the changes to Rise, one of the reasons why we're seeing Rise back in the meta is that the cooldown on his ultimate was brought so short that during a fight you will often see Rise able to use that desperate power twice. The first time, everyone has flashes, everyone has gap closes. The second time, they do not, and that's when Rise's true power really comes through. It was a nice Dragon claim. Remember, ROX has no true front line, so they were being very careful about when to choose and engage on this fight. Kuzan tries to zone, but everyone backs away. Teamfight Win goes over the Tigers, and they take the Dragon.
And look at this stat, 95%
That's quite
of the
a stat
time,
right there.
95% of the time the Tigers get the first Dragon, they win the game. 42.9% for Jin Air. That's a pretty crippling stat. Though, both of these teams still really even. Just the one dragon up. Very slight gold advantage at 1.4 thousand here as we approach on 23 minutes just about.
It is worth noting that over 80% of the time the ROX Tigers hit the Rift, they win anyway. So they're just a team that's won a lot this
That's
season,
very
but
true.
95% is still a pretty damning stat.
Yeah, it is for sure. And that was just questionable positioning by Jin Air. They knew that the Ash Arrow was available. Wing should have probably realized that if I get stunned, I can't smite this dragon away.
I mean, at the end of the day, Jin Air showed commitment issues. Did they want to
Yeah.
really commit on the dragon? They took a long time. They didn't want to DPS it down. Finally, they made a call to go for it. Peanut was the one that smited away. Then they didn't commit to a fight. Lissandra went to the front line, self-ulted. No one else coming in to fight with her. Chase still had his ult up at that time. But yeah, lack of commitment. Commitment issues for Jin Air.
Yep. Easy though, ROX not resting on their laurels at all. Push straight up with this advantage that they gained for themselves and take another tower, now stretching that lead to about 3,000. So this is ROX starting to come online here. We can see the Seraph's Embrace has been completed by Smeb as well. 6 stacks on that Rod of Ages. This Rise is just a few more minutes away from becoming an absolute monster. We'll have to see where he wants to take the rest of this build. Could go for something like a Void Staff very quickly. So we can see the Spectre's Cal has already come out from Trace, so could be looking for more penetration damage, or could be looking for more flat damage and crowd control, something like a Riley's Crystal Scepter.
Late rotation Karma that we were kind of umming and eyeing, especially after Faker's missed performance, you'd have to say, yesterday. Arrow coming in.
Oh, Kuzan will get caught by that one. Cannot take the glacial path. Gonna take a lot of damage. Has the person tube down on himself after this Zonia's. Will get a little bit of a heal. Gets caught by the backside of that volley. Kuro throws out the Mantra Q, but cannot find the kill. Kuzan will be able to retreat, but Flash is down, as is that Zonia's. And this opens up ROX for a double split here in the bot and middle lanes. This turret's going to fall. Peanut taking a lot of damage. Cannon Barrage comes down, but he should be able to get out safely. Smeb actually not able to finish off the tower, and he's coming to Kuzan. Can he find a catch? Is hot on the heels here. Gorilla coming around the sidelines. Wing taking a big Mantra Q. Kuzan goes in deep. Can he lock anybody up? Has to use the further tube on himself. Gorilla in the front line, low on mana. Looks like he might go down, but Smeb goes in the backside. Finishes off Wing. Now it's going to be Kuzan following suit. Jay on the run. Alstar ultimate available. Flash almost there for him, but he will be able to get out of this safely. But this tower is going to go down all the same. Peanut, the only one from ROX Tigers dying, and Jin Air losing 2.
Even though Peanut was so great, he used 80% of his life total to tank up that turret. They didn't pick it up. They still win a fight 2 for 1 off the backside. They get the turret as well. Objectives and kill advantage to ROX Tigers, and that's why the lead balloons to about 5,000 gold.
Yeah, they have been stretching that very quickly. We were just 1.4K spread between these teams just a couple minutes ago, and now
if there was a
suddenly, here it is.
subtitle to the ROX Tigers season, remember, they come in with a new big roster change. This escalated quickly is basically the subtitle of their season because it's been all about fast leads, all about changing your lineup and then just going on a massive winning streak with Peanut. It's a really nice attempt at a pick under the turret with the Hail Mary arrow from Prey. But off the backside, they win a fight, they push objectives, and like so many games this season, blink and you miss it, and there's 5,000 gold extra in the pockets of ROX.
Yep. ROX's team mantra should be, this won't go well for you.
Well, any team that's winning would have that mantra, Curious.
No, but especially the ROX Tigers should have that one. Not many other teams can have so bold of a statement and get away with it.
A bold season from ROX. They wait for the 23rd of April for the grand final. It's their last match of the season. Until then, it'll be actually quite a long break. Today is the 7th, so we'll not play for 16 days again on the top level until they play against the winner of the semifinal.
Trace, I don't know about this one. Actually goes in. It's a lot of damage over onto Smeb. Will chain the barrels. Pops that shield, however, from Seraph's Embrace. Will be able to mitigate the rest of that damage. But Smeb being outtraded heavily by Trace, who's starting to look like a very scary gangplank. Could be the saving grace of Jin Air. He's able to line up these barrels properly in some of these team fights.
Felt like he was respecting ROX Tigers potentially being there despite decent vision being down a little bit too much. Remember, Trace actually has magic resist as a 3rd item. I felt like he could have gone for the trade. Didn't.
Oh, TP coming in here from Smeb though. Arrow lands, connects on the pylon in the backside. Here comes Smeb, throws on the ward over the wall. Actually misses the Q, but it doesn't even matter. It's going to be a double kill coming in for the Rise. No flash to get himself over the wall, but Peanut is there slowing up Jay, who doesn't have an ultimate anymore. He's going to take the kill. That's going to be a 3 0 coming out for ROX off the backside of that teleport play. And this might even net them an inhibitor tower, if not the inhibitor itself.
The Ashe arrow out of nowhere was super on point for
He
Frey.
threaded that beam.
He does it so frequently. The last game was a bit of a missed data point, but this is much more a return to form at level 16. Double stacking items completed and Abyssal Scepter Rise. Smeb, it was the Echo last time. That was a tank pick. This is no tank. This is a carry top. And Smeb staying to type, looking to really tie up the MVP ranking if he can find another one today.
We'll have to see. Trace, where are you going? Way too far forward. Throws out the Cannon Barrage, no avail. The rest of the team just collapsed down onto him, and he just falls under the pressure. Not sure what Trace was thinking there.
How can Trace not go for a fight against a 30% health Rise with 2 pink wards on that side of the map, then waltz into lane and instantly die with no vision? That was a little bit questionable. Not sure what the comms are like from the Jin Air perspective, but this team who desperately is looking for a 2-0 win today, they lose 2-0. They're guaranteed 4th, but they have no chance of pipping SKT to 3rd.
I mean, I know Trace is old, but he shouldn't be old enough to just forget that all of ROX Tigers were sitting in his jungle.
But that's the crazy thing, is this is a guy who always assumes the worst and is famous for playing super safe, overextending and dying without a care in the world, I guess.
Yeah.
Weird to see.
Very bizarre indeed. And ROX starting to really run away with this game, and we are getting closer and closer to a 10,000 gold lead here for 30 minutes. 7-2 in kills, up those 2 dragons, 3 towers in the lead for ROX, and maybe a Baron coming up next.
It's just been genius from the ROX Tigers. They extended the laning phase when turrets being down meant that Lissandra would hit 6 and basically come and assassinate Ashe wherever she was on the map. Then they hit the grouping phase. They hit their items. They took all the outer turrets. They've been grouped as 5 the rest of the game. Suddenly there is no threat of dying being overextended for farm. They're pushing it early with the Karma Power Spike and pushing Baron as well.
Yeah, they are, but looks like they're going to turn off and go in onto Jay, who only gets a pulverize onto Smeb, who takes a little bit of damage. Peanut goes deep though, onto the Salazar, who has the ultimate up. Pilot taking about half of the damage. Kuzan goes in, 3 people locked down with the circle of frost. Has to use the Zonias on himself, and Jay is going to go down. With a nice Dragon Trade from Peanut to knock him back into the team. Kuzan going to be the one to follow, and Smeb still playing up on the front lines. Locks down Wing, gets the kill. Can he get more? It's a little bit of damage, but a huge shield comes through from Kuzan. Kuro keeping him alive, and now Peanut going deep into the face underneath this tower to try to get on the Pilot. Dashes away for the shield. Can they finish him off? Flash forward by Prey. There's the last auto attack. There is the ace, and that is going to be the game for ROX Tigers.
Just like I said before, it escalates so quickly, Achilles. They were playing the controlled style, then they decided, okay, we've got the items, let's take turrets. A couple of teleports later, the game's over.
That was beautifully played by ROX Tigers, who are going to finish this one out just after the 30-minute mark. Jay trying to do something, but all he's going to do is pad the KDAs of the ROX Tigers even further. The Nexus falls, and ROX are a game up over Jin Air already.
I mean, ROX, the team with nothing to play for. You wouldn't have known it if you removed the name tags. ROX played like demons possessed. They played excellent. It was so assertive after an early game, an intentionally slow early game, getting the farm on Ashe, getting the farm on the Rise. They come back, they play assertive, and they do it better than any other team in the world.
Yeah, assertive was a great way to put it. It would be a little bit questionable there. Jin Air was starting to make some objective moves, starting to gather some resources for themselves. But after one explosive fight, ROX just taking it by the head and just winning out that game.
But that's the thing, the ROX decided that the early game would be played so. They matched the lane swap, they kept swapping around to force a 2v2. Then they decided they wanted to put the accelerator on. They jammed that foot on the accelerator, and Jin Air just were left wanting. There's no other way to put it.
Yep. See praying. Some laughs being exchanged in the booth here for ROX Tigers. And again, this is a low-pressure game for them. They're already locked in the first place. It's just more KDA padding, another win for them to come out on top of.
But it's great to see. ROX Tigers, they were in a similar position spring last year, took the foot off the accelerator, showed up and were dominated by SK Telecom in the final. They're playing themselves into form. We won't see this team for 16 days after today, and they want to leave a lasting impression for whichever team is the pretender to the favorites, ROX Tigers.
Yeah. I think we can almost assume that it's going to be SK Telecom versus ROX as a grand final, but you never know. KT's been looking really strong.
I want to see SKT versus SK. I want Telecom Wars to see who will play ROX. That would be the most hyped semi-final possible.
That it would be, but first we have to come back for game 2 in just a few minutes. ROX versus Jin Air is going to be continuing here.